So I'd like to call to order the September 2nd, 2025 meeting of the Lower South Board of Supervisors. And ask everyone to join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That brings us to our public comment item. Is there anyone wishing to be recognized? See no one, we'll move right along. Public Works Director, Mr. Jones.
Morning, thank you. Just some updates on some projects, Bergie Mill Road Bridge. The abutments and piers were completed and the bridge beams were set last week. Pictures, Mike, please. One interesting thing to note. Go to the next picture, Mike. Didn't realize this until I was out there taking the pictures. That if you look at the approach of Bergie Mill Road to the bridge and the orientation of the bridge.
We got a little bit.
Zoom back out a little bit, Mike. There you go.
Yeah, that's.
So, and I.
Traffic calming
That's what I thought though.
and water rescue.
I guess they just can't shift it over a little.
No, but I know there were right-of-way issues or concerns. But, you know, we granted them right away for the work that they needed to do. It's just gonna be a little interesting coming down the hill. And making the chicane to get across the bridge.
I don't recall the old condition. How close is it to the old condition?
I think it's pretty close,
Pretty,
Yeah.
had that, I know it had a slight.
but it was a one-lane bridge.
Yeah.
So you knew you had to slow down but yeah, I just thought that was interesting that it's like, you know, well, it's gonna be a little tricky coming down the hill there.
May require some signage.
Well, like I said, it's something we're just gonna have to monitor and see. I mean, not that there's a whole lot that we could do about it now. But just thought that was an interesting look at it. Didn't really look at it, didn't really notice it until you see the beams set.
Yeah.
You see the orientation of the bridge in relation to the road.
How far, do they have any work to do on the road, like from where the bridge currently ends up just from the transition height or anything?
Yeah,
like that?
on both approaches, they
Okay.
have work to do, but
Like
there's
involvement with that too, yeah.
not a lot. So it's still gonna be kind of what it is. So,
I have the old alignment. So
yeah, sure.
You got a bridge.
this is today, well, March. This is the old.
Yes, it's pretty much consistent with what it was. But you would have thought it would have been an opportunity to make it better, right?
No speed.
So, anyway. Meeting out there Thursday with the contractor, and the county rep to discuss the, schedule. They're hoping to be done by, Thanksgiving. So I'm not sure if that's a realistic schedule or not, but we'll find out. There's also a trail component that needs to be installed, as part of our right-of-way exchange. They agreed to install a trail in the park up to a viewing area. And there's some other improvements that need to be done. We're looking at doing some tree clearing on the Haldeman Road side. And I'm also concerned about the rock outcropping there, so I want to get a better sense for where that is and how it's going to be impacted by the improvements. So that's it on Bergie Mill Road Bridge. Public Works and Community Center projects. We met internally to discuss the potential changes in the scope and locations. So I have a meeting tomorrow with the design team to bring everybody up to speed and to start moving forward in those other directions. Main Street sidewalk construction is progressing. Pheasant Run property stormwater's installed, the trails installed. They just have some topsoil work to do. On the Main Street. On Main Street, the sidewalk is about half completed. It's done in front of Matrix and Camp Harvest, still waiting for force main to be relocated, and then we have a sewer force main cover issue that needs to be addressed on the Weaver Reckner property, so working on those. PennDOT's gonna be doing some improvements on Main Street as part of their highway safety improvement program. It's basically going to be from Huntsberger Lane to Clemens. They're looking at new signage, pavement markings, rumble strips, sinusoidal rumble strips. So we were initially concerned about those being installed in more of the residential area of along Main Street. After doing some research, it's amazing how quiet they are. Just listening, watching some videos. I don't know if you could, Mike, if you have a chance to just Google sinusoidal rumble strips.
Please do that. Back to the, what's the anticipation of the sidewalk project being wrapped up?
I don't have a schedule, completion schedule.
Progress, except obviously for this section with forcing this.
My guess would be probably the end of this month.
Okay. And is that resolution for the lack of cover issue, are you looking at concrete encasement, or is it too shallow for that?
It's basically going to be putting a concrete cap,
Over top.
so just a protective cover
Space.
over top of it.
In case I can drive a fence post or something.
And in case in 20 years or whatever, the sidewalk gets moved for whatever reason, or there's other improvements that. You remove the sidewalk and there's still some protection over the force main.
That's good to hear the timing on this. Yeah, the engagement, that's gonna be the engagement issue because that's hard.
Oh, yeah, that's easier, yeah, they can get over that.
Everybody agreed to it.
It looks great.
Grammarly now uses AI to help.
Yeah, since we've seen, that's we need, since Wallace went up, I wanted to video, right?
Yes. The video is from,
You know which video you before?
University of Minnesota, or Minnesota DOT has a video.
Doug, while he's checking that too, with the PennDOT, is that gonna affect our grant? Water funds program, or is there something we can work collectively with that?
No, it's not, because it's going to be, some of the changes that they were proposing, we made sure that they weren't in conflict with the grant application and the new signal permit, so no, everything will be, there will be no conflict, so it's basically gonna be just mostly the rumble strips and crosswalk pavement markings, what they're looking at, signage.
Next, those end. All right. All right, go.
This is the inside the car. Which there's not much difference in the sound you hear inside the cabin.
Need to start. Okay.
Their sound line was basically still.
They're awfully quiet.
Very quiet. Seven. What's the purpose of putting these into this section?
Safety, just to keep driver awareness for the center line.
So it's a center line.
Center line.
Yeah, center line, you keep driving.
And
Yeah.
this is PennDOT doing this. And
Correct.
it's just so we don't. It's good to know, but we don't have a say, or do we?
We do,
Okay,
we
so
do,
let me check.
because
Okay.
I think when they resurfaced Main Street, they were proposing rumble strips, and we asked that they not be installed in I think from Clemens on. or even if maybe it was Oak Drive on, to Maple.
yeah.
And PennDOT agreed. And then after looking at this new type of rumble strip, you know, we felt that, you know, and Stephanie Butler was involved with us as well, and Joe and I, and just thought that there was, you know, minimal impact. So,
The common application now, they're using for lower volume, like the lower speed roadways. Every roadway like this.
Yeah. They can put it in if it doesn't disrupt residents. It does do that.
I mean, you know, we couldn't really hear it there, obviously, I trust that you think it's the right movement, it's quieter, and if it's for safety purposes, that's the way
yeah, I
I
mean,
need to. You know.
when I was watching the video, it was barely detectable that they were driving over the rumble strips versus just the, you know, the ambient noise of vehicle traffic. So. PennDOT Winter Services Agreement. They're, it's that time again. PennDOT would like us to enter into an agreement with them for winter services. Difference this time around is PennDOT is looking for a base term of 5 years with an automatic 1-year renewals for another 5 years. So it would be a total of a 10-year term. I think that's just a long time for.
Great.
It's the base rate that they've established, is like $68,000 a year. There's different rates for different classification of roadways, and it's based on snow lane miles, they call it. But the challenge or the issue that Joe and I were talking about is that, you know, the annual increase is 2% per year.
Health insurance and payroll is gonna be 5 to 8%. Oh, even materials. Right. Materials have gone up in the last 5 or 10 years. More than 2%. Yeah.
So that's what our thought was too, is that it's just not, I mean, we need to negotiate a better deal.
Right.
I don't know what any of my counterparts are doing in other municipalities. I haven't really heard and haven't had opportunity to reach out, but what I plan to do. My other issue with this agreement, and historically, PennDOT pays for a snow lane mile, which is basically a 12-foot wide lane. Doesn't account for any shoulders, it doesn't account for turn lanes, it doesn't account for any approaches or, you know, anything. It's just straight through lane, which is not reality. I mean, if they want us to plow to the white line, fine, we'll plow to the white line, but we're not going to do that, obviously. But I think there needs to be some adjustment in the way they calculate the lane miles. So that's another issue that I'm going to be working with them on to try to get some increase in the, you know, if you want to call it a lane mile for whatever, but it should be the total area that we plow, total paved area. You know, because we don't stop at the white line. We continue all the way to the edge of pavement.
You mentioned the 7-year, as well, you know, that's gonna be at least some parts of 113, but it's put out.
You got 130, you got Wamble roads of, you know, you got a consistent, it's probably 60 feet wide. You know, so that's, you know,
It's a couple trips.
4 or 5 passes with a plow. So it's more than just the travel lane. That I think we need to be more fairly compensated for those. So working on that, try to get some a better result for us.
If you need help with that, may know someone. Have to be on a transportation committee, stay, talk about that, to be more fair with this kind of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Just Nova Chip, all the paving on Morris Road was completed. Just some pavement markings to be installed yet. The 2025-26 consortium rock salt contract that's on your agenda for affirmation for tomorrow night. The awarded, or the low bidder is Morton Salt, and we've used them in the past and have had no issues. The Jacob Reif Stormwater Phase 2. We're looking at starting that project this month. to get that completed. That's gonna be a combination of, in-kind services with my team and also the Perkiomen Watershed Conservancy. CDL drug and alcohol testing policy. We've gone back and forth with, well, first of all, the template for this policy came from PSATs. So, and it is based on the federal regulations. For probably 95% of it. There wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for that we felt that we could modify. There were some minor things as far as how many strikes do you get? Are you one and done? Do you get unlimited? Is it? And we've taken the position that it's, you get one chance, and then the second chance, if you fail again, then you're gone. So basically 2 strikes and you're out. So that is on your agenda for consideration and adoption.
And then was reviewed by the, solicitor.
Yes, yes. Andy looked at it and,
PSATs.
PSATs, so we have a contractual relationship with the.
Correct.
Okay. And
yeah, they manage the testing program.
uh,
PSATs does.
so they pick the random, they're just all on the board, they pick one random.
Correct. They notify us as to who and when and
Uh,
all that kind of stuff.
Good.
But what we were missing was the piece of, like, what happens if? And, so that's what this policy addresses. Who pays for what, when, that kind of stuff. And is that, is the employee still, allowed to be, on the job, or, that kind of thing. So there's, and again, most of this follows the federal regulations as far as, the safety sensitive functions, as far as the limits and what's tested for, all those kinds of issues. So again, it's, for your consideration adoption tomorrow night.
So was there any other, and I know you based it off the other model, were there any other additions or revisions besides the 1 strike or anything else of significance?
That was the biggest one. I can't think of anything else that
I
is.
didn't need it on.
I'm just looking through my notes here. I apologize. Yeah, there wasn't a whole, there were only 1 or 2 different things, and the number of strikes was the biggest.
You can feel free to follow up with the policy.
The only thing that I added to this as clarification is that, there's definitions for safety sensitive functions, and in consultation with PSATs and with Andy, we just made the decision that everything that we do in public works is safety sensitive. So just to make sure that, there is no ambiguity, there is no gray area. So if you test positive, the public works employee, which obviously this is what this policy covers because of the CDL, then you're immediately removed from duty. And the leave, it's an unpaid leave. And at the manager's discretion, employee, someone that tests positive can be allowed to use either personal or vacation time during that unpaid leave. But not sick time. So those were the big things that we really had any changes or input on.
You fluctuate our crew around, so it's important that it is on it. I agree with that, but appreciate that.
Moving on, Dan Roth Park. We installed new wiring and conduit for the lights around the pond and a couple on the parking lot side. The path around the pond was repaved. We actually raised the water level about 8 inches, which I think is helpful. We're working on installing yard hydrants and new water fountains at parks. Some of the parks, Alderfer Park, having an issue finding the water line where we want to install the fountain. Yeah, it was installed when the park was first built, and it's plastic pipe and no tracer wire, and we've got I do, but where I thought it was, it's not. We even had the guy from the water company out there doing the same thing and yep. So it's what's weird is I pick up the conduit that we ran for the lights. And then I pick up something else that's, 20 feet away, which I think was the water line, and that's why you look right there by the playground, there was, disturbed earth there, it's where we were fishing. Trying to find it, so. But, so we're working on that, and, Park Avenue fields, we're also installed. We purchased through a grant, we purchased, combination fountains, or water fountains, bottle fillers and dog bowls. We got a grant through the Scoop Ohioans, thanks to Grace's efforts, to install these at connections at locations that connect with our trail system. So that was the connection there. So we've got going one at Park Avenue Fields, going to install one at Reed Park, and a couple other locations as well. So. ADA ramps were installed at Moyer Road and Bell Lane. So that, we just have some crosswalk markings and some signage to install.
Made it through, by the way.
Thank you. You guys did a great job.
Yeah.
So, Mike, can you pick the logos, please? I've been toying with new logos for the, public works vehicles. And this would be for anything new, not to redo any existing. So these are some of the, design concepts that our lettering guy came up with. We wanted something a little bit more than just Lower Southwood Township Public Works Department. It's pretty plain and bland. So what we like, my preference is actually the one in the middle. It incorporates aspects of our seal, which I think is important. The other two have the leaves on the outside, which can be a problem with, depending on the color vehicle. We have both green and yellow.
I agree, I like that, the public works is probably,
Especially-
I was gonna yield,
that too.
I was already in favor of yielding to, your preference, but I like that that's publicly displayed, so when you see the car, you're aware of that, and then further, look, I do appreciate the seal too.
Okay, but the thing that stands out is the Lower Southwood Public Works, that you can immediately catch, and the rest of it is just nice.
Zoom in on that, Michael. Sure.
Technical stuff.
Is that Gifford?
This is 1940. That date's probably.
Oh, it's very, is that Gifford in the hat? Is that how the one?
Thanks for guessing there.
Your house.
Living in.
Two are you.
Yeah, just a little bit off.
I look like.
So if you go to the others, Mike, it just says, what started this was our new trailer enclosed trailer that we bought, but, so in the bottom row, or the bottom left. I actually like it with the yellow instead of the gold in Lower Southwood Township. So that's what the trailer would look like. And then the trucks would be the bottom row.
Yeah.
So everybody's in agreement, so we will move forward. Thank you.
And adding your QR code there to, not on the logo, I think somewhere else.
On the truck.
Take them to their Lower South website or something.
What days of,
Yeah. We'll get Grace with it on that.
That's not a bad idea.
One more piece of communication.
Yes.
So last couple of things, we're going into our roadside mowing and meadow mowing at this point, taking advantage of the dry weather because the field grass, the mowable grass, finished mowing grass is not growing at all. So, working on that. And also, with the daylight hours that we're working with now, we're looking at ending our modified work schedule at the end of this month. So the 26th will be the last day. So back on September 29th, we'll be back to a normal 7 to 3, Monday through Friday.
And
So, I think it's been a great, it's everybody's been positive. The guys really liked it. You know, everybody was really appreciative of of the opportunity for the days off. I think we were much more productive during those 10-hour days. And also just by adjusting our work schedule and not taking the morning break, it's really made us a lot more efficient. So I think we really were able to get a lot more done. So if
So some of what you do disrupts traffic. Did you find any issues in the morning or concerns where you're starting before what normally?
You know what, I did receive one concern when we were on Yoder Road with a neighbor that was concerned that we were starting early. But that was the only call that I received. So, and we still, tailor what we're doing and adjust our schedules depending on what we're doing to make sure that we're not having a significant impact on traffic. So if the board's agreeable, we'd like to do this again next year.
It seemed like it was a pilot.
Thank you for, bringing this to our attention. So,
That's all I have. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Jones?
Just a comment, continue to receive good feedback on the bike lanes, from various residents, so good job on the
Good.
project for all involved, thank you, and, culvert lining, you got a couple culverts that can be lined, is there any update on that?
Yeah, we're working on getting that scheduled. So
That
sometime
area
this fall.
needs to be stabilized.
Yeah.
That's also.
Yeah, so that's a fall project.
Okay, very good.
Excellent.
thank you.
Yes, sir. Last time we spoke, about the fire company open house and the, community center market. Doing a joint, event on Sunday, October 5th. We had a draft plan for that. I think the consensus was that it was gonna work. We have no updates on our end. There will be another meeting on mid-month, to finalize things, with our company and the, community center. So that appears to be on schedule. Also a conversation on, recently the uptick in e-bikes and their presence, on the highway, on sidewalks, on our trail system. Obviously, we have resources through the vehicle code for anything that's on the highway. But Corey's been researching this. We did put something out on social media, a PennDOT chart showing all the different level, types of pedal cycles to scooters and whatever. So I'll turn that over to Corey to at least start a conversation. This is something that's obviously going to evolve, and we're constantly going to be modifying whatever we do, but to the extent that if and how we would regulate these vehicles on our trails.
So regarding the ordinance, years ago, the big issue was the skateboards. Rarely do you see anybody on a skateboard anymore, so now things have evolved for these e-bikes and electric scooters. This is the document that went out on Facebook. Pretty clear, but somewhat confusing and concerning as well. The big thing are these little scooters that are getting zipped around. There's no requirement for a helmet for kids, but yet you need one on a bicycle. Unfortunately, we can't supersede the state's law, but it would always be a good recommendation. We've been meeting with the squads, trying to push for enforcement of these things, more or less an educational purpose. I think a lot of people don't even realize what ordinances and or traffic laws govern this. So we do have the guys out there, specifically our bike guys, just trying to make contact with these operators of these devices. Have them handing out these documents, as well as the plan is we're going to have a table at the firehouse marketplace. We're going to try and hand these out as well, just to try and get some information out there and just have general conversation with the kids and their parents to let them know that we got to be careful using these things. we've all seen on the news, there's a lot of more and more incidents of injuries and or fatalities because of these things, so we certainly don't want that to happen here in the township. One thing I think we should look at, regarding the ordinance, you know, and I'm kind of expanding beyond the e-bikes too, because we certainly have enough complaints from the golf course, regarding the carts. You know, expanding the ordinance to include specifically the golf carts and these, e-bikes. It does say included but not limited to, but I think it would be a good idea to specifically identify those if that's our primary concern. But other than that, I think we've had maybe only 1 or 2 contacts so far with these things. And it's gone well. We've had, didn't get any complaints, you know, why are you stopping my kid because they're just riding this thing? But we will, you know, certainly continue meeting with the squads and pushing it out. If the board has any other input, we certainly would accept that as well.
So I'm clear, the e-bike has both pedaling capability and electric. I know our trails say no motorized vehicles, so they would technically be in violation of that, or only in violation if they're using the electric motor portion of that bike.
Well, I'm thinking the motor would be more gas powered.
Yeah.
Okay,
Technically, sorry.
go ahead.
Technically, so I do, before I went and ride my scooter, I looked into this as well, and I had the same opportunity there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but technically, I think it's considered a toy, because those were not essentially, they didn't exist, like when, in the 90s and whatnot, when we had our trails, sidewalks were issued. But I think they're registered as a toy, and the motor would be different. Please correct me if I'm wrong there.
Well, I can.
And that's fine, you just need to define what motorized.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
purely.
And then, no, absolutely,
Yeah.
yes, but at the same time, and this is something that I brought up to last month, you know, a month ago, and in that time, I can't believe the amount, I mentioned to a few of you, can't believe the amount of news stories I keep seeing. But at the same time, you know, it's, you know, I do ride my scooter. Yesterday, my wife and I rode probably like 8 miles around our, you know, sidewalks, trails, bikes, all over. However, there are people who go by about 40 miles an hour, and you think, no, it's not really going 40 miles an hour. Then you look it up, and they really do go 40 miles per hour on these scooters. And that's where the issue comes in. Okay, how do we regulate this? We want people to use it. You can't tell here on, you know, I could say, okay, I'm kicking now and I'm not now. Somebody could easily do something like that. Maybe it's just sign suggestions of the alert, you know, if something could happen. It's a lot harder to manage, I think, on our trails, but I think, Chris, in that regard, the way I interpret it is scooters and even e-bikes fall into toys. And e-bikes are a lot bigger than scooters on a sidewalk per se. I don't ride on the sidewalk unless absolutely necessary.
Doesn't that Chuck say that you're not allowed to have them on public property, like always, you know, private property, right?
They do,
Isn't that
unless you have, you know, written permission. Regarding the ordinance, toy vehicle, is all such wheeled devices commonly used by children, including but not limited to tricycles, big wheels, miniature or scale size cars, trucks, tractors, and the like, pedal or electric powered, and child-sized bicycles and pedicycles. So when I'm reading that, I'm thinking that those little John Deere. Not these bikes that go much faster than it. The recreational vehicles, according to the ordinance, include but not limited to unicycles, bicycles, pedicycles, roller skates, rollerblades, skateboards, scooters, sleds, and similar human or gravity powered devices. So it's really, ordinance isn't really capturing this. So that's something that we need to address.
And I think any type of engine isn't gonna be good enough because everything's getting electric. We don't wanna have Teslas driving our trails because we say gasoline powered engine, you know what I mean? That's where the,
And I think there was something in there that I read motor wise was, remember the mopeds that? I think the motor, and I think that was addressed in the best I can interpret it is their list. As they said, there's nothing really in between, so it almost falls in the toy by definition. It's tricky.
and the question would be, is there any interest on behalf of the police in having an e-bike to be able to get around versus our normal?
Chase down the others.
You chase down the other e-bike.
Well,
I've heard from
Some of the officers while I'm on there, you need to get one.
Great idea.
they do have the mountain bikes now. but it's certainly not an e-bike. I'm not sure anybody's gonna catch up to a 40-mile-an-hour e-bike on a mountain bike. That would be a consideration. Also, Chief doesn't know this, but preliminarily kind of looking into upgrading the gator we have downstairs to something a little bit more robust, that would be more suitable to get from here to hypothetically the golf course we have to. So I think that
Without pushing.
without pushing.
We've had to do it with the current version.
If we're trying to demonstrate good behavior on these.
Sort of our physical
I think the one
fitness.
that's being demonstrated and, you know, while they're out in the community would be a good way to go about doing it and, you know, quite frankly, probably a more responsive vehicle than a human powered bike with the amount of equipment that those gentlemen and ladies have to carry with them.
No doubt.
They have started making their appearance in law enforcement.
Yeah.
So we have some examples to look at.
I do think you're on the right pace, though, that I like a PSA out there, let people know, because it's just, and I will say, and as I said to Joe, obviously from the beginning of the summer till now, so much tripled the amount. You can only imagine as Christmas comes up, holidays, summer specials, you know, slash the prices, they're gonna be.
I was on Quarry Road going from Old 40 Foot to my house, and there's a kid on his zipping along, and you know, he was smart enough. There's no shoulder there, so he was smart enough to actually get into the oncoming travel lane because there's no one coming, so I could pass it, and then he zips back. But then on the way back from where I was coming, he has a cooler strapped to the base of the scooter, so he has 1 foot on the cooler, 1 foot in the back there.
You know, another thing I think is worthwhile, though, while we're on conversation, is some things I do notice that, you know, drives me crazy, but it's common up here. It's not the city. We're not used to seeing, well, a lot of the drivers aren't used to seeing people going. So, for example, crosswalk right at, we'll say Hennings, and, you know, Clemens crossing over that, cars coming up to make that right, even if I have that go walkway, I'm not going, and there's 1, 2, 3 just flying right by without stopping. They'll have their green light, but the idea of, oh, there's a crosswalk that says cross now. Same thing sometimes at Huntsburger, you know, crossing out there, which is, I know we're looking at our grant, just making that left. So maybe down the line, we look into more signage just to kind of remind people, friendly reminder, watch out for bikes, you know, this is one little thing. I don't know, but that's something else to consider.
And I suggest Peter Kent for the park board to maybe be working in concert with the police for recommendation on what is the appropriate, say, I mean, they're here. I think it's great that people are outdoors, if that's what it gets to get people outdoors, get them outdoors, but then how do we do it safely and not trails?
And we want to make sure, you know, we have something that we can use as a guideline, you know, we don't want anything, obviously, we want the safety of residents and everybody. And God forbid anything were to happen, we would have to close it down immediately. I want to try to find that balance where we can get a safety approach here. I think PSA is pretty.
Just as far as the whole kind of separate the golf carts, but we've had to address them on our highways, and I guess it's a couple of years ago now, we put out a letter to residents. We talked about generating a second one, because of, on the highways, it's very clear cut, but as far as like residents playing on the golf course or going out and damaging the golf course, that's kind of separate, but the same communication can address the, you know, those private golf carts. And I think Stu has kind of taken a friendly approach with residents. But as far as the officers and what, you know, as long as we know what their marching orders are for.
One thing I would say, if we've had staff there, is that, you know, they really need to call the department whenever they see this kind of act.
And that's the one, we're looking at Thursday.
You know,
Oh, good.
Perfect.
But both of those topics could be very good articles for our spring newsletter. Like, once we get the ordinance updated, and then the golf plan. Spring seems very appropriate.
One more question, and Supervisor Kraus mentioned bike lanes here, and same thing, I've heard great reviews as well, but I've also heard a repeated question about the parking in there. Is there any set thing that we have, as particularly, I think I've heard it from people who go from Sturgis. Said, we park there sometimes, people park there, are you allowed? I will. address
Nothing
it.
prohibits you from parking in a bike lane.
Say it again.
Nothing prohibits you from parking in the bike lane.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you posted no parking.
Right. All right, good. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else to the police department? Excellent, let's work, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next up, building and zoning director, Mike, the birthday boy.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. So last month, the month of August, we actually only had 37 building permits that were pulled. So it was a very light month, comparable more to January. So as expected, we do not have a zoning hearing board for September. The on your agenda for tomorrow, you'll see 10 Schoolhouse Road again for consideration to approve the preliminary and final land development plan for the 30,000 square foot office we're proposing. Also, you'll be discussing 440-450 Hoffman Road. That's a, 4-lot subdivision, a residential subdivision, right next to the golf course. And that will be for discussion of the waivers only, so that the planning commission moved that forward. So we received an application for a proposed text amendment to the administrative office district. And that was in July, and it was brought forth to the Building and Zoning Committee. And the Building and Zoning Committee felt it appropriate to move forward with the text amendment to the AO district, which, as you know, there's only 2 locations for the AO district. One is at the corner of Maple and Oak, 355 Maple, and the other one is Alderford Park. Those are the only 2 locations. So the committee felt it was appropriate to move forward with the text amendment for that. And so the applicant submitted an application for their proposed text amendment, which was pretty simple for a thrift store use to be permitted. But then it was decided that that was not necessarily appropriate for the administrative office district just to have that simple amendment. And so we took a more comprehensive view on that and then took that to the planning commission, and then the planning commission discussed it. And then after the planning commission made several recommendations, we made some edits to that. And so what you see here in front of you today is the draft that the planning commission moved forward for your consideration to authorize for advertisement for an October hearing for adoption. There are 2 adjustments that the planning commission would like to make to the draft that you're looking at right now. And that is to prohibit the drive-throughs for restaurants and banks, which is a typical thing that we see in the village commercial zoning district, which was taken under heavy consideration when drafting the amendments. And not to allow auto part stores, funeral homes, and tobacco related businesses. So those would be the only edits to what you're looking at right now.
And that would be the other parts that would be both under B and C.
Yeah.
So just so I'm clear, you can clear everyone above me, but the drive-throughs not permitted for restaurants and banks, but we've heard, yes, prohibiting, who's gonna take drive-throughs out,
Correct. And we'll probably do it in the manner that we did in the VC district.
And then the process here is, if we authorize this tomorrow, it'll go to the Montgomery County Planning Commission, and it goes back to the PC.
Right.
For their final recommendation before we eventually have a hearing in October for discussion and consideration.
Correct.
Will they have representatives here to discuss this?
Yes, actually, they do plan on, I'll confirm with them, but they do plan on sending representatives for tomorrow.
I'll have some questions.
Okay.
Anything else on this review for you? Good, all right, very good, birthday.
Happy birthday.
Moving right along, Mr. Dukowski.
Thank you. The first item under the Managers report of review of the August 5th Board of Supervisors meeting minutes. The changes, corrections. Comments.
One place.
You got
Shut.
Only because you kept looking at.
You're being tested, Kevin.
The next item is review of the agenda for tomorrow evening's regular board meeting. Under unfinished business, resolution 2025-22, 10 Schoolhouse Road, preliminary final land development approval. Next item B, resolution 2025-23, authorization to execute agreement of sale for the Buca property. We have come to an agreement and everybody's satisfied, so. We know that Terry Jerstein, who's working with the property owner, is authorization forward. But he does return.
And for those who may be revisiting this in the minutes, this is the property that's a vacant lot adjacent to, we'll call it the Scout Cabin, location of the community center, and would basically be added to the property that is the old parking lot for, from the elementary school and adjacent to the community center. As the parking lot property is owned by the township, the Scout Cabin is owned by the community center. I think this is going into the township, but shared areas. Last sentence, yeah, very valuable. Just as a side note on that, let's take it off the agenda. I know I saw a draft of the subdivision plan for the property over here, and I know we're looking to sell something, maybe, so we have some proceeds from that. Is that moved along with Michelle Hall?
And
The house back here?
I believe that she sent us a more updated subdivision plan.
Yes.
Okay. Nice to move along, yeah.
Let me pull it up.
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
It's as long as it's moving.
okay. Yes, yes, you did.
We're just looking for the proceeds
Yeah.
to purchase this.
Okay.
Under new business, resolution 2025-24, setting forth the minimum municipal obligations for the police and non-uniform employees pensions fund for 2026. Item B, traffic signal easement for 371 Main Street. Item C, trail and traffic signal easement, Tyler Carnival and Suzette Lopes. I believe those two are tentative. They may come on if we don't receive timeline. Motion to adopt CDL employee drug and alcohol testing policy discussed here earlier. Next item is proposed administrative office zoning district text amendment, authorization to advertise. Next item 440 to 450 Hoffman Road, preliminary land development, residential subdivision, this is discussion waivers only. 2025 Montgomery County Consortium Salt Bid, the operation board. And the next item is the appointment of deputy fire marshal. That's what I wanted to discuss a little further with you. Don Lynch has moved back to the township. He's on Maple Avenue. He reached out to me last week. And we just appointed Tom Gammon as the fire marshal. And currently Ryan Mace is a deputy fire marshal. What I would like to do, I have spoken to Ryan about this, he said agreement is to appoint Don as an additional deputy fire marshal. Don is completely certified as
Absolutely.
longer than my arms, qualifications, and he was more than happy to re-involved in the township of that, so that's
Good.
It's great. Joe, as I copied these down on my notes, I noticed if it was A, B, C, D, E, F, E, F. Oh, the agenda, I didn't notice it till I was like, what am I doing this for? It's okay.
you look at things many times and things.
Yeah.
Correct that.
Yeah,
That's a 1941 edition version.
And that is all I have.
What I think is brief executive session.
It's a matter of,
Real estate thing.
matter of real estate. Anything else? All right, with that, we'll take a look at the adjourn. Motion.
Second.
Move in a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those say nay. Motion carries.
Question for